the tease, Pablo. UFC 240 and Saturday, Edmonton, starting at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Go order the main card. It's on ESPNplus.com/PPV. And be sure to download the ESPN app if you're watching on your mobile device. And it is crunch time on the jump. The Knicks are the NBA's most valuable franchise. Darren Rovell recently pointed out on Twitter that over the last 20 years, they're the NBA's losingest team, and yet Forbes recently valued them at $4 billion. The Lakers are second at $3.7 billion. The value of NBA franchises, of course, exploding in recent years. So, Dave, $4 billion, what would it take for James Dolan to consider selling?
There's no number because
clearly.
Listen, Ford's in the lifestyle. I was listening to the radio the other day. His band was on the radio on Sirius because he's a Knicks owner and can pull those strings. So I don't think it's ever going to happen.
This is not where I say that I've gone to see his band play.
Because you wouldn't be allowed to stay.
JD, the straight shot.
I definitely did. It was on assignment, just to clear that up. But I've seen him play live.
Wow. Okay. Bill Simmons recently on a podcast, by the way, tried to get Knicks fans to crowdsource because the MSG is a publicly funded company. He said, we can take it. We can buy him. The Spurs adding Tim Duncan to their coaching ranks. According to the New York Times, they also reached out to Manu Ginobili, but after just 1 year of retirement, Manu was not ready to take a coaching position. Malika, do you think that Pop will eventually get Manu back in his clutches and get the band back together?
I mean, if they're hiring Tim Duncan, they should try. They should get everyone back. I'm talking, keep it coming. Get Big Shot Bob to come back too. Robert Horry should be on the coaching staff. Let's just go all out there.
No love for Fabricio Oberto?
That's not top of my coaching list, but sure.
Wow. Come on, Pop just wants people to go out to dinner with. Let's not kid ourselves. And he's making good choices. All right, Woj reporting yesterday that Pau Gasol signed with the Blazers. Malika, how much can Pau help Portland?
Well, I think that this team is a team that's trying to go to the next level. They have been in the playoffs. They are trying to get to that championship conversation. And I spent some time with Pau when he was in Milwaukee last year. And what they were hoping is that he's the only guy in that locker room that had championship experience. I think that that's invaluable when you're trying to, in this crowded Western Conference, take it to the next level. So I think that's what he's going to be bringing to the table.
Yeah, he's not the dominant player he was for the Lakers and the Bulls and the Grizzlies, but he's a guy who can give you spot minutes and certainly be a pro.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how all of that balance works out because when a guy's older, we've seen like a David West situation, but he still played a fair amount during that championship run. I don't know how much Powell's going to play. We saw, of course, what happened in injuries and stuff in Milwaukee. So it'll be interesting to see. Team USA withdrawals have continued to mount, but today, Team USA added 6 players for next month's camp. Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown will join fellow Celtics Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum, who remain. Clearly, Boston all in on its players going. It's like going to be their own mini camp there. Dave, what do you think?
I don't feel as well about the team as I did a couple weeks ago, but as long as they hold on to some of these blue chippers and with experience and with talent, I mean, a guy like Kyle Lowry is vital right now. A guy like Donovan Mitchell is vital right now. They'll have enough to take care of business, in my estimation. If they lose some of those guys to injury or their plans changing, then it could get a little dicey.
Yeah, I mean, for the first time in a long time, it feels like that global stage is a little bit more open, and they've been turning through that roster a little bit. So, I mean, you might have to go suit up for them next thing you know.
I mean, Spain's good, Serbia's good. I still think that this team is very strong. Jerry Colangelo came out today and said, we're going to be okay, and I think he is, although Dave still thinks they need Olympic Melo. There you go.
Carmelo.
Syracuse till the day he dies. Let's get back to our lead story. Yesterday, I sat down with new LA Clipper Paul George, along with Kawhi Leonard. PG talked about his exit from OKC, and he told me it was, quote, a mutual decision. Thunder GM Sam Presti had a different version. You can take a listen to both sides here.
We all were on the same page. This was nothing that came out of the blue. Felt like we were just stagnant, and the next thing was, let's go forward and go on with other plans. And again, it was mutual amongst everybody.
I know that he had used the term mutual. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that because that would infer that we were wanting to trade Paul George, which I think most people would agree that probably wasn't on the top of our off-season priority list. But I would say that it was not adversarial at all.
All right, so what do you make of Presti's response, Malika?
I think that it's just semantics and vocabulary. I think that that was the same sentiment that Paul George was trying to express, was that, look, this wasn't something that was volatile. It was something that we were able to kind of resolve together. And I think that that's kind of what Sam Presti was saying, too. I think that he just used a little bit more of some SAT words to describe it.
Or it could be revisionist. Now, I obviously, if you don't believe that Paul's trying to do anything to add some PR favor to his situation, then fine, I can accept it. But there's still the shocking nature of what happened. You know, obviously we saw the clip of them on stage together. I intend to be in OKC a long time, sign a 4-year deal. Unless when he signed that 4-year deal, there was a conversation that, you know, if this doesn't work after a year, let's be able to move my contract, and they know that going into it, then obviously this was not mutual.
There are some chicken and egg things here, right, too, though, because, no, I totally agree and believe Sam Presti when he said top of our to-do list this summer was not trade Paul George.
Naturally.
But look, with the way the contracts were lining up, with the way that they hadn't been able to get out of the first round with that team, you had to think that if this season they didn't get out of the first round, and then Paul was looking at just that expiring 1 year left on his deal, because remember, it's a player option at the end, then all of a sudden, it's okay, they would be looking to trade Paul George, right? Because all over again. So they were able to leverage Paul George wanting to go play with Kawhi Leonard, and the Clippers feeling they were getting a 2-for-1 with Kawhi Leonard as part of the trade to get a lot more for Paul George than they would have a summer ago. So I do think it's kind of interesting how this all layers. Sam Presti also wrote an op-ed in the Oklahoman today, used the phrase reload and replenish several times to describe the Thunder's philosophy. Basically, he wanted to set expectations. Yeah. You of Philadelphia, Dave Mcmenamin, is this the new trust the process?
Reload and replenish.
Reload and replenish.
Print out the T-shirts.
He's got plenty of draft picks. Guess what? Danny Ainge had all those draft picks. No rings to show for it yet. You know, be careful what you wish for.
I mean, they were able to get a historical number of picks, so we'll see what happens. But I kind of like the reload and replenish. It's a new R&R.
Reload and replenish. We'll be doing that until tomorrow when the jump is on again. George Sedano's hosting. See you guys later.
On this special episode of High Noon, we have Earl Thomas defending the time he flipped off Pete Carroll, and Taylor Lewan also crying.
Yeah, the Pac-12 is also talking about playing football games at 9 o'clock in the morning and a birthday cake.